Hey, it's Stacy with Anxiety Detox. This week I want to talk about the stories that we tell ourselves. We all have stories that we tell ourselves on repeat. Typically we don't share these stories out loud with anybody, but they filter our lives, they filter our experiences, and change the way that we interact with others, they change the way that we show up in the world, and in general, they can really hold us back or even make us feel more anxious. I want to talk about what that looks like in real life and then how you can move through those stories and get to the other side. Common stories are, I'm not worthy, I didn't deserve this, things never go right for me, people don't really like me that much, I'm not really talented. One way that my story would hold me back is, when somebody would say, oh, you really helped me with anxiety, I would think, oh, well, it's not that big of a deal. These are like easy things to do. Everybody knows all this stuff. This isn't anything special. But I would totally dismiss, the years that I spent reading books on my own and going to trainings about trauma and anxiety in particular, and, writing and reading research papers. So, I did all these things in private and it was benefiting people in real life, but I couldn't give that credit and I couldn't take that, that step to step out and offer this sort of help in a broader or more public way. And so in order to even start Anxiety Detox, I had to let go of that story. And I want you to be able to do the same with some of your stories. So I'm going to tell you the things that you can do to let go of whatever story it is that's holding you back or making you feel more anxious. Step 1, you have to recognize the story. That seems really obvious, but a lot of times we don't even notice that we are repeating these stories or saying these things to ourselves. So the first thing we have to do is just recognize that this is a story that you're telling. If something is happening and you're feeling anxious or you're feeling upset about it, pause for a second and ask yourself, what is the story behind this feeling? What is the story that I'm saying to myself that is making me feel upset? The second thing that you can do is understand the role of confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is just what we do when we have a story and we're looking for evidence to prove that it's right. We all want to be right. And even if the story is bad, we look for evidence that we're correct. And when you look for it, you can find it. On the other side of that, you can actually flip your story on its head and you can say, okay, if my story is I'm not worthy or I don't deserve XYZ, then you can switch your story to I do deserve this and here's why. And you make your list. Look for the confirmation that the other side of the story is true. If you have a hard time finding it, reach out to somebody that you love, somebody that's close to you who knows for a fact that this other side, this positive side of you is true. I encourage you to write them down. You've repeated this negative story for so long that it's ingrained in your brain. And so let's flip the script. Let's write the other side of the story and then look for evidence that that is true. Now, the last thing that you can do is learn to step outside of the story, especially in the moment. Step outside of your story and then recognize that it is a story so that now you're not drawn into it and sucked into the emotions of it. I hope those are helpful ways that you can deal with your own stories. I would love to hear what your old stories are, and I will see you next Thursday.